Alright, everyone, we should be live. I was a couple of minutes late. That was actually not my fault. It was my program not acting properly. I think my Wirecast is dying. That's okay. Let me just make sure everything is okay. If anyone is out there in the chat already, then please let me know if you hear me and see me okay. But I think we should be alright. So, I'll take a look. Alright. Yep, I think we are good to go. Hold on. Yep. We're going to check my own audio. Don't tell, do. Hold on a sec. It's way too close. You don't need to see all of my many imperfections. There we go. Sure, that's fine. Alright. Well, I think we are set. My name is Nick. This is Board Game Brawl. This is our weekly Q&A, except I haven't done one in a few weeks. Basically, you ask me questions, I give you answers, and we all try to leave and go back home without any hurt feelings. So fuck that up. Let's see. I've been very busy lately, so I haven't had as much stuff up on the channel. I had to do a number of previews. I just had to do it. They were way overdue, and I couldn't wait any longer to do other content and put it up at the same time. Now, having said that, I have 4 videos that I'll be uploading right after this. In fact, 2 of them are already uploaded. I'm just waiting to make them live when the other 2 are done. And one of the other ones is completely done. The other one I'm just finishing up. So you'll have, they're all reviews. So you have 4 reviews coming up right after this, within like an hour after this. And then as far as stuff in the near future, I'm still working my way through Gloomhaven. So that will be in the near future, but not like immediately. Might be in the next few days. As far as a review, I'll probably do another Lost Reviews segment because I have a few things. In fact, I'm going to make a note for myself here so I don't forget what I want to talk about for that one. So there will be that, and then I might have a funny video as well. So that's that. You'll have some stuff, and I have like 3 more previews. The problem with the previews was everyone... This is the constant bane of my existence, is that everyone decides to launch in the same period. And they do that because they run analytics and they talk to people who have had successful Kickstarters before and say, this is the perfect time to run your Kickstarter, and they all do it at the same time, which is a self-defeating prophecy, because then all of them are taking pledges away from the other people, because no one can pledge for every single game at the same time, even if people would be interested in doing so. So, Kickstarter sucks, is what I'm trying to say. But in any event, let's get to the questions, because I think a few of them might have popped in. Again, you can ask me about anything you like, and I will do my best to answer. Politics is fine too, but I'll probably not dwell too much on that. Actually, let's let the questions pile up a little bit more. What else have I been doing lately? I've been playing a lot of Steam games whenever I get a free minute, because it helps me unwind and lowers my stress level quite a bit after the weekdays. And I've had a Steam account for like 3 or 4 years, and it's just been completely inactive. And I have been watching Previously Recorded, which is a channel that is a spin-off of Red Letter Media. 2 of the guys from Red Letter Media, Rich and Jack, a few years ago started this Previously Recorded, where they do Twitch streams, and then they'll post them up on YouTube, and then they'll do actual review videos, edited review videos on YouTube as well. And it's really funny. Sometimes they're infuriating because they are hipster indie gamers, old school gamers, and hate new stuff, but they'll still review the new stuff, and I'm like, why would you bother? But it's still fun. But the point is, it made me get into video games again, which I hadn't been for quite a while. And there's so many cool indie games out there. I've been really enjoying Night in the Woods, although I'm not very far into it, so don't spoil anything for the story if you have been playing it. And Hollow Knight, again, I'm kind of dabbling in several games at once. So those are 2 new games that I've been enjoying. I like adventure games. I like story-driven games, of course. And I like Metroidvania games. If you guys are unfamiliar with that, they're games made in the style of both the original Metroid games up to like Super Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night and its subsequent games that followed its mold, where you're side-scrolling, platforming, you're fighting monsters, but it's not linear. You get to backtrack, go to different parts of whatever area, like dungeon or castle that you're in, and find items and equip them, and then use some items to get past other places that were inaccessible before. I love it. It's such a great system, and it feels good and satisfying. I'm actually playing another game that's older called Dust: An Elysian Tale, which is also Metroidvania, and is really cheesy story-wise, but has very beautiful cel-shaded artwork, and is really has very uneven difficulty. I'm playing on tough mode, and it's like the bosses are super easy, but the normal enemies kill me all the time. Well, whatever. All right. Now I think some questions have piled up, so let's get to it. Thank you very much. Moderator Chris is here. Oh, my phone is freaking out. Let's put that over there. Nick, you're alive. Welcome back. Well, I don't know if alive is the right word. It's a word. I'm not sure if it describes me. What is your win ratio in the game Friday? I don't know. Friday is one of those games I really enjoy. It's on my top 100, and it made it into my top 10. Well, I made it into the second top 10 solo games list, one I did with Rado, because I fucked up and didn't put it on the first one. But I like Friday a lot, but it's not a game that I sit there and play like 10 times in a row. I'll like occasionally bust it out when I need something quick to do. If there's 2 games going on in my game group, and one of them finishes, and then the one that I'm in finishes, and everyone else leaves, and the other game is still going on, I'll play Friday to kill time until they're done. Or I've played it at the car dealership before. But the point is, I don't keep track of my stats. I would say I've only won a couple of times. It's pretty difficult, and also like I feel like if I did sit there and play it like 5 times in a row, I would know the right strategies. That it would come to mind immediately, and I'd do better. But because I play with such gaps in length, I just do horribly when I play again. Hey Nick, how are you doing? I'm okay. How are you? First question: where were you? I was right here. Unfortunately, I'm always here. I am always here, and that's the problem. I'm at work in the bathroom watching Nick at the end of my lunch break. I love it. That's where we're at, folks. Did you back Gloomhaven? If so, have you played it yet? I did not back Gloomhaven. I pre-ordered a copy and got that. But there's like no difference between it and the Kickstarter version. So it's sitting there. I'm gonna actually set it up after I'm done with this. After I'm done with this and done with the videos, I'm gonna set it up and we're gonna play it tonight. We're only gonna play it tonight. Like that's the only game we're gonna. Well, I take it back. There's one other game I'm gonna force my group to play. It's a very light game. YouTube is strange. I had to manually refresh. Yeah, I've been having some issues too. That's why I was a couple minutes late today. I was all set up and ready to go, and then all of a sudden didn't want to work, which is fun. Is the insert that comes with the base game of Kingdom Death Monster adequate? If not, any suggestions for an alternative? Well, I have to admit that I don't know a lot about how the new insert's going to be. For the current one, it's not adequate because the miniatures don't really work. You could throw some of the smaller miniatures in there, but the big miniatures don't fit. So there's that. But maybe you don't mean that. As far as just the cards, then yeah. I think even I keep all my sleeved cards and it fits. For just the base game stuff. Just the base game stuff. I don't think I have any of the... Well, no, I must have some of the expansion content in there, but not all of it. So it's not really adequate. And from what I've heard, the new insert's also going to suck. Because there's just too much stuff. I feel like this is something that's going to have to be crowdsourced for a third-party solution. But even then, I don't think I'm going to bother. Nick, deck building games or Future Fight? I'll say deck building games overall, but man, I really do love me some Future Fight. But the thing with deck building games is I buy them once and they're set. Future Fight I keep pumping money into, so that's the deciding factor. Although I keep pumping money into Marvel Legendary, so what can I say? Favorite Eldritch Horror investigator? Yeah, I really like from the new expansion, the 2 healers, so to speak. One of them removes physical conditions and one of them removes madness conditions. That is so insanely powerful. I feel like it is, like, because sometimes you get it depends. Sometimes you get a condition, you get rid of it in like a turn or two. Sometimes you are fucking nailed with a condition and there's nothing you can do about it, and it just debilitates you for the whole game. And the other players keep playing and doing their thing and getting more powerful, and you're just stuck. And so the ability to remove madness conditions and injuries is really huge. I forget their names though. Hi, Nick. What would be 3 pieces of advice you can give to new board game designers? Play as many other games as you possibly can. It kind of amazes me that sometimes I'll get offers for games to review or to preview, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, you've clearly never played any modern games that were made in the last 10, 15 years, because this has been done better. And I'm not saying that you should just mimic someone else's game, but you should take lessons from the games that other people have made, and say, oh, they did it this way, well, maybe I want to do something a little bit different. Or, oh, they did it this way and it sucked, so maybe I shouldn't make the same mistakes. See, it works both ways. So that's like the number one primary piece of advice. Play games. Play as many possible games as you can, all over and over and over again. If you don't have access to games, get like a tabletop simulator thing. I don't use that. People recommend it to me, though. I'm sure it works fine. Play games. Another piece of advice would be to, if you're going to go the Kickstarter route, and I'm just going to assume that people will. At this point, there's no point in trying to talk them out of it. Like, no, you must go with the publisher, because people will get turned down by a publisher and then say, fuck it, I'm doing Kickstarter, and there's just no way getting around that. So, okay, accepting the fact that you're going to use Kickstarter most likely as a designer, then what you should do is do everything in your power to mimic the process by which a publisher would publish your game, which is to say, an insane amount of playtesting. Go to people who are not in your social group or your familial group and ask them what they think of the game, what they think of the art style, what they think of everything about it, how does it play, all these different things. Take the tough love, even if it's from strangers, and then say, I think I still have a game here, and it's worth putting on Kickstarter and asking people to invest in me, because that's what you're doing on Kickstarter. And the last piece of advice, I mean, there's probably a lot. I'm sure I'm missing an important one, but just for me personally, just choose an interesting theme. Don't take Cthulhu just because it's public domain. Don't try to mimic a theme that another very popular game is doing just because you want to ride on their coattails. If you want to do a pirate or cowboy or zombie game because you legitimately have a good idea, well, okay, but don't just do it because it's a hot thing. Are zombies still hot? I don't think so, thankfully. So, make it an interesting thing. Make something new and unique. Take inspiration from maybe an old piece of media that no one's really delved into that much. Just be original. Make something new. I crave new things. I don't want carbon copies of the same crap over and over again. I looked at Kickstarter, just going through all the different projects that are currently running right now for the first time in a while, and I was just very depressed afterwards. It's just like, oh my god, this is like, if someone like took the browser and screens from like 3 years ago and transplanted them into what I was looking at today without telling me, I wouldn't have noticed. I would have said, oh, it's the same crap. Are you planning to do a top 10 list soon? I would like to. I'm trying to just catch up with some reviews first. I think I'm going to chill on. I did so many top 10s in a row because I count my top 100 as like a series of top 10s that I was just trying to take a break from it. I'm not going to do a top 10 anticipated list because it's just too late for that. It's not timely anymore for 2017. So I had a couple of ideas for just fun lists, nothing like that interesting or pivotal. So I'll see about it, but it's kind of at the bottom of the list right now. What's your favorite beer? I'm not a huge beer aficionado. I would rather drink like hard ciders because I'm a girl. I'm a girly man. But I have had beers people have brought over, and I've had some good ones. I actually like Blue Moon. I know that is like at this point Blue Moon is so ubiquitous. I mean, I think it's actually distributed by Anheuser-Busch, or one of the major beer companies. And so I understand it's, even though some people still think it's like some sort of weird indie beer, it's just totally not. But I like the taste of it. Like it's actually very few beers I actually like the taste of, but Blue Moon I do. So I'll say the really bad popular choice. Nick, will you be playing Fire Pro Wrestling World for PC when it comes out Q2 this year? I cannot explain in enough ways how much I won't be doing that. I am not into wrestling at all, although the name sounds awesome. the way that it makes it sound. Do they actually play with fire? That would be cool. Like, do the wrestlers light themselves on fire and then throw themselves at each other? It's funny, one of my friends who used to be in my gaming group, who moved to Canada, and who I'm still friends with on Steam, so sometimes I see some of the stuff that he's playing. He is a wrestling fan. Like, he actually watches wrestling in the real world, not just video games. So whatever that is, he's probably already got it pre-ordered. Actually, I don't know that. I don't know if he actually... There's a big difference between liking wrestling and liking wrestling games. Laugh out loud, Nick, not dwell on politics. Yeah, sure, good luck with that. Well, that is true. When someone asks me about it, I can't help but spout off at the mouth. Quick question. Oh boy, I'll try to parse this out, Charles. Take your time. Can't you... What? Okay, wait a second. Can't you record the Kickstarter videos weeks in advance and then upload them to YouTube and then just make them public at the right time? I just don't have time for that. I would love to do that, but I have a constant influx of stuff I need to do, and it's just not in the cards for me to do them weeks and weeks and weeks out. Have you drank any good micro beers that you want to share? I don't really know. I always have friends who come over for the gaming group bringing over weird and exotic beers. I don't know what's classified as a micro beer, and sometimes I don't keep track of the names of them. I will say that one of my regulars brought over some, it was like a 12-pack of canned beer that have different varieties in it. Some of them were like Party IPA, and I can't remember the names of all of them. And that was just in the news recently because I think it's one of the popular beer breweries is getting sued for claiming that that brand of beer was like craft beer, and it's really not. So that's why I have no idea what I'm drinking. Hey, Nick. Hold on a sec. Hey, Nick. Hey, did you ever see the Jason Kahn video that had the Dice Tower at a gun range, and then the video mysteriously disappeared? Am I the only one that saw it? I have no idea. I do not watch any Dice Tower or Dice Tower related stuff. That sounds really humorous and strangely not surprising. So if anyone knows anything else about that, I think we'd all like to know. Back to work. Thanks, Nick, for doing the QA. Adam is out of the bathroom. He's out of the bathroom, everybody. Awesome. That's awesome. Good job. Thank you, Adam. What have you been up to? Trying to keep my stress levels to a bare minimum and failing miserably. Would you ever play Secret Hitler with that Milo guy? No, because I'm sure you're referring to Milo Yiannopoulos. I'm not sure there's another popular Milo in the world right now, because he's an asshole. The most interesting article I read, part of a bigger article that I read about Milo Yiannopoulos was David Wong on Cracked did an article just last week about outrage culture and how we are addicted to being outraged, and a whole segment of it, because they do it in a list. So one part of the list was about Milo Yiannopoulos and how he's just saying shit to get us outraged. Like, whether or not he even believes it, and he probably doesn't believe most of the really vile things that he says, he's literally just doing it to get us outraged. So I always believe that taking oxygen away from a fire is a good idea. But hey, Secret Hitler is great. And actually, the point of Secret Hitler is that it's a fun game. But if you want to look for subtext, the point is to root out fascism before it can become a real thing. Nice Flower Night shirt. Did you figure out your pledge and get it locked down? I know what my pledge is supposed to be. I just haven't locked it down yet. I'll do it soon. I don't know. When is he planning to close the pledge manager? I suppose I should ask that. Did you back the second Kingdom Death Monster Kickstarter? I sure did. If you watched my Facebook during the time of the campaign, I was insufferable. People were fleeing in droves because I only posted about it. Have you heard of the Kickstarter Rising Sun? How do you feel about the hype? Because that's all we got at this point. I have heard of it, of course. I think the hype is a little bit silly at this point. People are hyped about it because Blood Rage was a hit. This is the spiritual successor to Blood Rage, even though supposedly gameplay-wise it has very little to do with it. It's been compared more to Diplomacy, which is a really big red flag for me because Diplomacy is awful. But it's hyped because of Blood Rage, because of School Mini or Not, and because it's from Eric Lang. Eric Lang has actually had more misses than hits for me lately, so that's one reason I'm not on the hype train. I think that now, based on a lot of posts from a couple of months ago when the Kingdom Death Monster Kickstarter was still going on, a lot of people were just a lot of people who hate Kingdom Death and everything about it were really eager for Cool Mini or Not to like come swooping in on their white stallion and say, "Here's a game that you can back and throw your money at that is not Kingdom Death," and I think that's contributed to the hype quite a lot as well. It's really silly that it's not even out yet. And I'm sure the reason why it's at the top of the hotness is, I don't know for sure, but probably the Dice Tower reviewed it or something like that. But because they review Kingdom, they review Cool Mini or Not games like months in advance, which should raise an eyebrow or two, but I'm sure it doesn't for most people. But I don't know. I don't really care that much. But again, I think people just want something to throw their money at. Your answer to my question about Friday makes me feel less inadequate. Well, that's what I'm here for. I am here to squelch out other people's inadequacy with my own inadequacy. Let's see. Scroll down a bit. Do you like the mechanism from Robinson? I just want to check my audio for myself real quick. Okay, cool. Sometimes my audio's out and I don't know it until I scroll down far enough to see people yelling at me. Do you like the mechanism from Robinson? I assume you mean Robinson Crusoe, Cursed Island. You use more actions in order not to roll dice and automatically succeed. Are there any other games you know of that have that mechanism? I only know of Aliens, the 1989 game. Let's see. Well, I do like it. I think it's very interesting. It really adds to the theming of that game, where it's like, everything is awful, everything is hard, you're probably going to die, and you're running out of time to do things like build a shelter, but so you're like, okay, we really need this thing I'm about to do, whether it's hunting for food or whatever it is, so I'm going to take my time and do it right. Or do I rush, hope that it works out for me because I have a million other things I have to get accomplished? I love that because in that sense, in a cooperative game, it works very, very well. I think that's the only type of setting and the only type of game where that kind of mechanism would really work. And do I know of any other games that have that? Oh, man, I'm always horrible at bringing up knowledge like that really quickly. D&D. See, in D&D, you can take 10s, or in D&D 3rd edition, at least, and maybe even 4th edition. I haven't played 5th. But in D&D, you could take a 10 or take a 20 even if you had enough time. Like, I have to research this thing or I have to pick this lock. I'm going to take my time and do it because I'm not under any kind of duress. But there's always situations where, yeah, okay, there's no monster breathing down your neck, but maybe you should still hurry it up. And the DM would sort of coax you along like that. Hi, Nick. How are you liking Marvel Future Fight since the new update? I've been okay. So, the Marvel Future Fight is, for those of you who don't know, just really quickly, it's a mobile game. It's like a grindy RPG quest game sort of thing, where you have like access to over 100 different Marvel characters and can min-max all their stats. I love it for that. And there's tons of different modes you can play in. And last few updates have had some controversial things in it. Like a uniform upgrade system that basically, I mean, it's a free-to-play game, and up until recently, it seemed like you legitimately could do well in the game only being free-to-play. It's becoming less so, because it's getting harder to get certain things. And the last update really screwed people on gold, which is the bottleneck of the game. If you can't get enough, gold is really hard to come by in the game. And even though technically there are other resources that are individually more valuable, like crystals, which are essentially you spend real world money to get crystals and you spend them in the game, gold is used for everything important in the game. And when you are out of it, you are hit. Like you everything that you want to do gets delayed and set back. And they have nerfed the gold in a few different ways over the past 6 months. And the latest one was to effectively cut the amount of gold people could potentially get from cooperative missions every day from like 3.5 million down to like 1.5 million, which is really devastating. And then people complained, and then they fixed it a little bit. Now gold has been, it goes back up to like about 2.5 to 3 million, I think you can get per day. Potentially, it's like random. But other than that, I've liked it. Dormammu was introduced, and getting him is really, really, really difficult. But I have gotten him, and he's very fun to play with. And I still love the game. I haven't been put off from it yet. After reading Board Game Geek, I found duplicate minis in my box, both locked classes. Are you talking about Gloomhaven? I don't know. You didn't actually say what you're talking about. Tell the guy asking about the insert for Kingdom of the Monster. You can buy an insert for Minor Creations, minor with an ER, or top-down terrain. Hey Nick, I will be in Tokyo for Game Market this year. Any Japan exclusive titles I have to check out? I don't know. I actually haven't been keeping up on that. It has been the year-to-year thing where I've had one or potentially two people who have been willing to schlep back or send me back some games from the Tokyo game shows, but I'm probably not going to do that this year. Probably not. So I haven't really been looking. Hey Nick, where are you at in collecting Arcadia Quest, and do you think the pets are too cute or just the right kind of cute? I have everything for Arcadia Quest at this point. I don't think there's anything I'm missing, except maybe I don't have like some coins, like special collector coins things, but like I have everything for it. My Kickstarter pledge came in about a month ago. There might be some optional buys from the Kickstarter, the last Kickstarter, that weren't exclusive that I just decided not to get yet. But everything that's exclusive I have. And is the pets thing too cute? No. I mean, the game is about chibi adventures. The whole game is cute. The pets thing, since it's completely optional, you don't have to use it, but I think it's fine in the theme of the game, which is ridiculous. Review of the new Mansions of Madness expansion forthcoming. Hell yeah. I never did that, did I? Maybe I will. I don't know if I'll do a full review for it, but maybe I'll do it for a Lost Reviews thing. But yeah, I did play with one of the new mods, the Dinner Party Murder Mystery, it was a lot of fun. We had a good time with that. Hey Nick, good to see you. I hope it's you and not an LMD. Thoughts on Shield Life Model Decoy. Thoughts on Shield. I'll make this is one of the moments where I wish I still had the superhero show, or I kept with it, because I have a lot of thoughts about the shows that have been the superhero shows lately. And here's my main thought. Right now, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think, is my favorite superhero show. They are firing on all cylinders, and I know there are people who bailed on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. back in the first season and will never come back. And I understand that. They had their chance to win you over, and they didn't. Some of us stuck with it. But it has just been getting better and better, like by leaps and bounds every year. And this season is so good. From the beginning of the season, when they had Ghost Rider as a storyline, who was awesome, to now when they've introduced life model decoys, it's just so good. The acting is great. The characters are great. It's emotional. It looks good. The special effects. They had a guy, an Inhuman, on the show a few weeks ago who his power was to explode. He can make himself explode, and then he would reform. His body would reform out of thin air. Like the molecules would put themselves back together the exact same way that they were, and then he could explode again. The special effects for that was so goddamn good. I was like, what? I can't believe it doesn't look bad. Like, they made it look so great. I love the budget for that show. It's just I love its budget. So that's my number one favorite show. However, close in its rear view is Legion. Legion, I had very little interest in because so far the way that Fox has handled the X-Men franchise has left me underwhelmed, to say the least. And the thoughts of what they would do with the TV show were I was very, very doubtful and skeptical. But then I found out it was from Noah Hawley, who did the Fargo TV adaptation, which is some of the best television I've ever seen in my life. And so then I was willing to watch it, and Legion is amazing. I just watched the 4th episode this morning, as a matter of fact, while I was eating breakfast. And it's fantastic, and it's close in the rear view of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I want to see the season and how it unfolds, but I'm very hopeful. It's just so good. Now, I can't say the same about the Arrowverse shows. Arrow itself is having a really great season. It stumbled a bit last season. It was pretty just okay last season, season 4. Season 3 was absolute shit. And so it feels like the peak, season 2, is just long gone. But the new season is really good. It's not as good as season 2 with Deathstroke, but they're exploring some interesting things. They did a schmaltzy gun control episode, like a very special episode, which was awful. But other than that, it's been pretty good. So there's that. Supergirl, I'm probably gonna bail on at some point because it's not like it's terrible. It's actually the same show it's always been, but it's just so generic and it doesn't really. It's something I get excited about. Legends of Tomorrow, I think I'm behind 1 or 2 episodes on, but that's actually been really good this year. They're really leaning into the ridiculous curve, and it works for them. The show that I'm very disappointed in and that has been in a slump for a while, and it doesn't seem like it's getting any better, it's getting worse, is The Flash. The Flash Season 2 was overall disappointing, though it had some bright spots, and this season has just been kind of miserable. They keep making the same crappy mistakes again and again. The characters are really just stupid and unlikable, and the special effects are terrible. Nothing makes sense. They don't use their powers right. It's just been a drag. It's gone from being my number 1 superhero show at some point in season 1 to just being almost bottom of the barrel. Like Supergirl, I might even be looking more forward to that every week. So it's a tough spot. We'll see. I hope they pull themselves out of it because the potential for Flash is amazing. Thoughts on the Thunderstone Quest Kickstarter? I'm actually... Okay, I don't really care that much. But I will say it's pretty dumb. Like, I don't know why they're doing this. They're doing it for money. That's all they're doing it for. They have the name recognition, so let's just make a new version of the game. But there's nothing wrong with the old game, and people were still buying it, and then they just stopped making it and made a forced scarcity and then made a Kickstarter to make more money from people who have been dying to get the game. But now it's completely incompatible. You cannot use any of the old sets with this set. At least with the original Thunderstone to Thunderstone Advance, you could if you wanted to. You can't do that here. And I think it's really awful, and AEG is a bad company, which I've known for a while, even though they've had some flashes of brilliance with some decent games, although some of them are just games they pilfered from Japan, like Love Letter. And this is just an example that they're not a really good company, and I think that's pretty evident. Hey Nick, my girlfriend is a huge One Piece fan. Ace is her favorite. Can you recommend me something neat to buy for her birthday? Well, let's see. There's no point in buying any DVD or Blu-ray of the episodes themselves because it's just so easy to get them online. I mean, you can stream it on Crunchyroll. But you might consider getting one of the movies on Blu-ray or something like that. But I mean, there's so many shirts. Qwertee, QWERTEE.com has a ton of One Piece shirts. That's where one of the videos I'm about to upload, or 2 of the videos I'm about to upload, has me wearing a new One Piece shirt I got from them, and they have a few other ones. So you might consider getting her apparel. They have women's versions of it. What else? I like the Funko Pop figurines. Look, the thing is, you need to... does your girlfriend like tchotchkes? I'm fine with tchotchkes. You see them on top of my shelves all the time. In fact, usually where I stand, right above me, are my One Piece tchotchkes. Law, Chopper, and Luffy from this time skip. So, I really like those. And there's an Ace one as well. Do I have the Ace one? I thought I might. Maybe I do and it's just not on camera. But there is one for Ace. So you should look into that. You can probably find it on Amazon for like $10-15. The Ace Funko Pop. Let's see. Have you played TMNT Shadows of the Past? I have not. I have very little interest in it. Kevin Wilson has been an incredibly disappointing designer. I haven't liked most of what he's done, and IDW as a whole has put out a lot of crap. I like the idea of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the original comic book, being used as a direct source inspiration rather than the terrible movies or anything. But that would be the only reason I'd be interested in, and it's not enough for me right now. Okay. Outside of the echo chamber, what are 3 good things about Trump and 3 bad things about Bernie? Wow, good things about Trump, and I am reaching here. I would say that he knows, for better or for worse, mostly worse, he knows how to connect with people better than any other politician in the last few years. He he is sticking to his word. I always told people, people's like, oh, don't worry, Trump's not actually going to do most of the stuff that he says. Why would you think that? Because he's doing it. So he seems to, he's an inveterate liar, but he seems to be doing at least what he promised to do in a grand sense. And he's got an attractive family. I don't know if that's a compliment for him very much, but his wife and children are all very good-looking people and seem to not be monsters like he is. That's a compliment, right? 3 bad things about Bernie. I love Bernie, but yeah, he's got problems. One of them is that he does not know how to connect with a lot of people in the country very well, but the far left gobble up everything he says right away, but not so much most of the rest of the country, and he just seems way too standoffish for them. He does not know how to, his plans are all very good, but he doesn't know how to explain them well without seeming like a kook, which I call Ron Paul syndrome, although Ron Paul was a kook. He didn't just sound like it, he was. But Ron Paul had some good ideas, and he just couldn't get them across without sounding like a kook. And then what would be a third bad thing about Bernie? I mean, his age. And look, I'm not an ageist. I'm getting old too. Every time I look in the mirror and see all the gray in my beard, I feel really fucking old, and it sucks. But I feel like if he was just a little bit younger, people would have been more confident putting him in office. Now, is that fair? It's not fair at all. It sucks to have to say that. But that is a quote-unquote bad thing about Bernie. He's your grandpa, and no one wants to see their grandpa be the president. I would have, though. I have watched the released episodes of Supergirl Season 2. It quite often sounds like a political manifesto with characters comparing being a lesbian, Latino, and an alien, or the black and white discrimination with the alien earthling discrimination. And, of course, all the opinions expressed by leading characters regarding alien immigration and integration amongst earthlings. Oh, boy, how long is your comment? Okay, that's it. Or did you lose a part of it? Or maybe that was it. Okay, whatever. So, look, yes, Supergirl is using itself as a platform for talking about LGBTQ things, for talking about immigration issues. I don't mind a show being politically relevant. In fact, I think Supergirl has done that better than some other shows I can mention. Arrow. Yeah, Arrow did a gun control episode, which was so cringe-inducing. Like, you can make a political statement, but make it part of the story and not make it seem like you're beating them over the head with it. And I think that Supergirl is a little bit bad at that, but Arrow is horrible at it. I don't know. I don't mind that so much in Supergirl. I will say that I do mind when it doesn't make a lot of sense story-wise. And so they made Supergirl's sister, her adoptive Earth sister, I don't remember her name. Oh, I can't remember her name. She's that forgettable. They made her lesbian this year. They said, I mean, it was an open question. No one cared enough about her character to even care what her sexuality was. Previously, she just was never with anyone. And then this year they just said, oh, she came out. She found out because she started seeing this hot cop who was also a lesbian, that she was gay. And it's not only unbelievable that so much time has been spent on it, but it doesn't feel natural at all. It doesn't feel natural for the story, but also the fact that she came out in the very first woman she dates. They're in love, they're a long-term relationship, and we have to deal with tons and tons of schmaltz about it every single week. Again, I don't care. The LGBT part of it, whatever. It's the most unbelievable love story on TV right now that I've seen. Because it's just it doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry, LGBT people who may happen to be watching right now. When you first came out, did you immediately fall into a long-term relationship with the first person you had sex with of the same sex? An open question. I don't think so, because it doesn't work like that for straight people, so why would it work that way for you? Like, well, I guess some people fell in love with their high school sweetheart the first person they had sex with, but very rarely. It's just awkward. Everything's awkward. Alright, anyways. Have you played Tramways? Any Hood? Gratings Jasper? Any good? There seemed like there was 3 different questions there. But anyways, I have not played Tramways. I apologize, Jasper. Are you currently reading any comics? No. I really wish I had the time. In fact, I need to remember that I think I'm subscribed to Marvel Unlimited and I'm paying for nothing because I haven't actually used it in like 2 months. I need to look into that. Thank you for reminding me. Do you think Logan will be a good movie? It's a serious drama, quote-unquote, comic book movie, right? Well, all the reviews are pretty good. I mean, I think it was last time I looked, which was a couple days ago, it was sitting at a 70-something on Metacritic, which for Metacritic is really good. A lot of the reviewers that I typically would go to for movie reviews, like the AV Club, have given it very, very good reviews. Now, since they're a nerdy site, they're more leaning towards maybe, being more positive towards it. And so the slightest hint that it's more dramatic and more of a movie means that they would be even more likely to give it a better review than, say, someone who's not into comic book movies. But it seems like it's almost universal praise. Now, here's the thing. I'm not very interested in that movie. None of the trailers and the previews worked on me at all. I thought it looks pretty bad. So I'm actually quite taken aback that the reviews are so good, and it's making me want to see it. Because, again, people I trust are recommending it to me. Also, I need an excuse to go and do a double feature so I can see the new John Wick. And I might want to see Get Out, which I've heard nothing but good things about. Maybe I'll make a day of it just going to the movies. Have you played Role Player yet? I think someone sent that to me. Maybe. Do I have that? No, but I know of it. No, I have not played it. Hey, I know you probably already answered that, but why are you not part of the Dice Tower more? That is totally old news, but it's completely different opinions. I had no business being on that network in the first place, Bug, and I should have known that, and I'm sorry that I ever got involved. But basically, we both came to that conclusion. Yes, I was talking about duplicate Gloomhaven miniatures. Okay, Charles, yes. I don't know what any of you are talking about. I watched an hour of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild stream on the Nintendo Switch last night and nearly fell asleep and was not at all impressed. Should my geek card be revoked? No, not at all. Not everyone is going to like everything. I'm not a huge Zelda fan. I see that it's gotten amazing reviews. People are saying it's not just like the best game of the year or the best game for the Switch, that it's like best game of all time, or a contender for it. Doesn't really work on me because I'm just not a huge Zelda fan, and also I'm just not buying a system for a game. There's enough mounting games for me to consider purchasing a PlayStation 4 in the somewhat near future, because I think Horizon Zero Dawn might be the one that just pushes me over the edge, because I watched a stream of that on previously recorded, and it was amazing looking, except for the fact that the main character constantly says, maybe my focus should help me here. Maybe my focus will help me find this thing. I should use my focus, and it's really annoying. People in the chat were saying, is this some sort of product placement for the Ford Focus? But nevertheless, I think that game looks amazing. And Breath of the Wild might be amazing too, but I would need a serious amount of other games for me to consider getting any new Nintendo system. I haven't played a Nintendo system that I've really enjoyed since the Super Nintendo. I owned an N64 and a GameCube, and they were very disappointing. And the GameCube was terrible. And I never, ever bothered with the Wii or the Wii U or any of the handhelds. Well, I had an original Game Boy. So for me to buy the Switch, which just looks like a really awful gimmick, and I have no desire to play video games other than mobile games, which I use my phone for. I have no desire to play a major, heavy video game out on the road. It's just never going to happen. So we'll have to see how that goes. But now I'm never going to say never. If like in the next year or two they start coming out with like an awesome new Metroid, some other really interesting exclusives. I like some of their exclusive RPGs like Fire Emblem. So actually, there is a Fire Emblem coming out at launch, isn't there? We'll have to see what the reviews are like. I like the Lost Reviews concept. You could do something like that weekly, quick reviews or whatever, knock out 3 or 4 small reviews or initial thoughts in one video. Yeah, I'll see how it goes. I like the idea of putting them together like that, and keeping it short and sweet. But thank you. And someone recommended to me just doing like 30-second reviews for games that I hate, but I'm not going to do that. Have you finished all the Mechs versus Minions scenarios? Do you have a favorite? I have not finished them all, I'm sad to say, but the whole game is great. Could you mix the old Thunderstone with the newer one? But you could. I'm sorry. You could mix the old Thunderstone with the newer one, but it didn't work very well. AEG sucks for making a third version of a game that is not compatible with previous versions. I agree. Big discussion, quote unquote, on BGG about what is a campaign game versus a legacy game. Mechs versus Minions, Pathfinder adventure card game, new First Martians mode. Are they legacy? Do you care? I care a little bit. Not enough to get upset about it, but those aren't legacy games. Here's the part of it that does make me upset, and it's that I've always said this. There's an undercurrent of gamers, especially on Board Game Geek, which is like a nest of them that, and I do mean that with negative connotations, who are hoarders. To them, a huge part of the hobby is just having the stuff and having it be in pristine condition, like people who collect toys and keep them in the packaging. And to them, they'll lower themselves to actually play with the game and potentially like damage them in that way. But the idea of actually damaging the board or tearing up a card or any of this stuff is just anathema to them. And now it's to the point where they're just like obsessive about shutting down people who are not into it. And that's why even though I don't think Pandemic Legacy is my number one game or anywhere close to it, although it is in my top 100, I love that it is number one on Board Game Geek because it pisses all those people off, and I love that. I just fucking love that. But now what's happening is they're like, okay, well, if we can't beat them, let's try and join them. So we'll make our own version of legacy games where you don't permanently change anything, and therefore it's not actually a legacy game, but we'll call it a legacy game, and therefore we'll shove it right in the face of those Pandemic Legacy people. So that's what they're trying to do with Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven is supposedly not permanent. You can just reset everything, which makes it not a legacy game. But maybe I'm wrong, and I will reserve my judgment. But everything else you listed there, not Mechs vs. Minions, not even close. Pathfinder adventure card game, not even close. I don't know anything about the new First Martians mode, but those other games are not even close to legacy. They're campaign style games. And actually, even Pathfinder adventure card game is a weird campaign style game. Do you play any video games? I talked about that at length, actually. Boy, it's really hard. I want to get back into RPGs, but I just don't have the time for it. That's my number one type of game. I've heard good things. I've heard very mixed things. Critics seem to love the new Torment Tides of Numenera game, and I've started playing Planescape Torments with their spiritual siblings, same design team in that. But if you look at the user reviews on Steam, it's getting to the point of being mixed, quote unquote, capital M. And it's not just because people are shitposting. There's some really legitimate, thoughtful posts about why the game is bad, they feel, and it's making me pause. Let's see. Regarding role-playing games, D20 versus Percentile. Do you have a preference, and which one and why? D20s feel good and right, and I'm only basing that on my own nostalgia factor in the games I've played in the past. Other than that, I can't give you a legit answer. I don't think I've really played a heavy percentile game before. What did you do with Pandemic Legacy when you finished the game? Just put it in the closet. I know, I didn't do anything that elaborate with it. Yeah, I had some fancy ideas about that, but it never came to fruition. I want Horizon Zero Dawn and God of War 4. Yeah, actually, I'm interested in that one too. Also, the PlayStation VR is looking really tempting. I'm surprised. PlayStation VR seems to be taking off quite well. People are really enjoying it. In fact, I read an article that even Sony was shocked at the success of it. Are you with me? Like, I don't get into console wars. In fact, I'm leaning more towards PC gaming now than ever before in my life. And considering buying a new laptop that is made for gaming primarily. So I don't really have a dog in like the whole console war fight, and I never did. I always owned multiple consoles. But I will say though, I thought about this the other day. For my money, if you want to go for consistency, the Sony's PlayStation line has been the most consistently successful. You look at like the PlayStation 1 and 2 were huge successes and basically set the stage for the next several generations. The gaming landscape would look completely different if those systems, especially the PlayStation 2, did not exist. And they set the standard for what the video game industry would be going forward. The PlayStation 3 had some hiccups and was too expensive off the start, but then ended up being a solid system for its run. And now the PlayStation 4, I don't know all the details, but I think it's beating the Xbox, and the Wii U was a failure. So I think. And so you got to call it a success there. And like the only misstep, and now the PlayStation VR is working out for them. The only misstep Sony ever seems to have had as far as hardware was the PlayStation Move. And even then, it wasn't because it was a bad thing or it failed. It was just no one cared. It came out at like the end of the life cycle of the PlayStation 3, and no one seemed to care all that much. Although, don't you have to use the Move with the VR set? I don't know. Maybe. So maybe then it's not even a failure at all. If it was just like preemptive strike for eventual VR. But you compare that to like Nintendo, and like Nintendo won several different console wars, if you want to call it that. But they've also had some huge missteps. The GameCube, I think, even the N64 to a certain degree, the Wii U, the Virtual Boy. Remember that? And of course, Sega ran themselves right out of business. Even though I liked the Saturn, I liked the Dreamcast, their whole model was a terrible failure, and they released a bunch of other crap like the 32X and the Sega CD, which I also had and never worked. And then Xbox just seems to not be able to. Xbox always just seems like it's a step behind. I don't know. It's very odd. So I don't want to say I'm a fanboy for Sony, but I'm more likely to buy one of their systems moving forward. I had pretty much the same feeling about Supergirl, except that I binge watched it, so the progressive idea seemed quite hammered to me. Yeah, I suppose if you watch it week to week or once every few weeks, it doesn't seem that bad. John Wick 2, huh? I love the first movie, no shame, but I'm surprised you could get through the opening act of the original movie with all your emotions intact. Impressive. Well, I don't know if you know this old school gamer, but there's this little thing called the fast forward button, and I was not watching that dog scene. No, sir. I put off watching that movie for a very long time, even through friends of mine saying, no, you gotta watch it, come on. I put off watching it because I was not going to watch that dog get killed. Because it wasn't just a dog, it was a beagle, a cute puppy beagle get murdered. And when the time came, I fast-forwarded and never looked back and thoroughly enjoyed the rest of the movie. I still cried a little bit thinking about it. Thank you very much, Diffid. I think the PC is in a good place because you could get a cheap PC and get access to a huge library of indie and AAA games that have been made in the last 10 years that will still look great at 1080p. That's my logic too. I've actually been very happy with the fact that my computer has been able to run quite a few games I wouldn't have thought it would be possible. I specifically bought my computer to be a little bit more advanced a few years ago because I wanted to do a lot of video editing and needed a lot of horsepower for that. And so I have like an i7 processor or something like that. My gaming card sucks, but I'm still able to play some pretty decent games. I bought Spec Ops: The Line because it sounded interesting for $5, and it runs okay. You know, it's a pretty heavy game. And all the indie games I've played have been able to run okay. But I will, if I want to play games, I do want to play like the newest incarnation of Doom and the newest incarnation of XCOM, and I'm pretty sure my system won't be able to handle it. So at some point I will have to get a new PC. What was the first board, I say that, I guess I could improve the one I have, but I have a laptop and I prefer laptops, so. What was the first board game that you bought? I mean, I don't know. When I was a kid, games were bought for me, and they were all terrible, like Risk. If you mean since like I've been into modern board gaming like 4 or 5 years ago, it's been that long. I mean Magic, of course, but also if you call it a card game, not a board game. Ascension has a board. Maybe that's one of the first ones. Thank you very much. Oh no, did I catch up? Oh, I caught up. That's okay because I'm running out of time and I don't want to. I really need all of my time. Oh, okay. You're right, Joe. You said the PlayStation Vita. The PlayStation Vita was mostly a failure, right? The PSP I feel like was successful, their first handheld, but I think the Vita was a failure. You're right. Yeah, that is a big blind spot. I hadn't even thought about handhelds for Sony. I know some people, like one of the guys that does prereq, plays the Vita a lot, but I've never had a desire to do it. In fact, I had a PlayStation Portable, a PSP, and as soon as I bought it, I also bought a wire to connect it to my TV because I had no desire to play it mobile. I just wanted to play exclusive games on it, like Gene to Arc and Yggdrasil Union. That was a long time ago. All right, well, I'm caught up, and I'm totally fine with going ahead and calling it here. And you guys should be fine with it, too, because that means I'll be able to post those videos sooner. And I'll also set up Gloomhaven ahead of time. So, yes, I'll have some stuff coming very soon for you. Some stuff very, very soon for you within the next hour. And hopefully you'll be okay with that. And I'll try my best to put out videos whenever I can. I'm sorry for the delays and things like that. It's just how it has to be with the current state of how busy I am and how life is. So I will do what I can when I can. Trust me, I'm not abandoning any of you. I will just do what I can. That's all I can promise. But hey, it was good to be back. I love doing my Q&As. I never ceased loving it, and it was good to talk to all of you. So I hope you all have a fantastic weekend and that you do some really, really fun stuff, whatever that might be. Take care.